Okay, Long Island. We're in Shoreham today, New York. And we're still in the book of Mark, chapter 15, and verse 1. And straightway in the morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council, and bound Jesus and carried him away and delivered him to Pilate. Okay, so that's chapter 15 is continuing from chapter 14, right? We saw that Jesus was arrested. Okay, so in verse 1, it's setting the scene. It says in the morning they had a consultation. Talk about a council meeting, right? They got everybody there. So they just decided they want to take him to Pilate. So they bound him. They tied him up, handcuffed him, right, to take him to Pilate. All right, so in verse 2. And Pilate asked him, Art thou the king of the Jews? And he answering said unto him, Thou sayest it. Okay. So, that's all he said. You're saying it. All right. In verse 3. And the chief priest accused him of many things, but he answered nothing. All right, so you see all the chief priests now, they got him before Pilate, and then they're accusing him of all sorts of things. But Jesus just stayed quiet at that point. Okay. And then verse 4. And Pilate asked him again, saying, Answerest thou nothing? Behold, how many things they witness against thee. Right, so he's amazed, like, they got all these accusations against Jesus, and he's just staying quiet. So he's like, you're not going to say anything? Look at all that they're saying against you, all these witnesses against you. And in verse 5, but Jesus yet answered nothing, so that Pilate marveled. Right, so he's like, wow, amazed. Okay, so verse 6. Now at that feast he released unto them one prisoner, whomsoever they desired. Okay. So he's talking about Pilate. Has a custom of releasing a prisoner that the people want to have released during that feast time celebration they're having. Okay. In verse 7. And there was one named Barabbas, which lay bound with them that had made insurrection with him, whom had committed murder in the insurrection. All right, so they got this guy Barabbas. He's involved in this insurrection where he killed somebody. He's murdered, committed murder in this insurrection. All right. And in verse 8. And the multitude, crying aloud, began to desire him to do as he had ever done unto them. Right? So, right. So they're asking, they know that he usually releases a prisoner, so that's what they're crying aloud, desire, wanting him to give unto them what they're asking for. And then verse 9. But Pilate answered them, saying, Will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? So he's asking the people that they're gathered. He said, you want me to release the King of the Jews? Jesus guy you got here? Do you have all these accusations against? And then verse 10. For he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy. Right, so he's talking about Pilate. He knew that why the chief priests brought him there, because they're envious of his ministry. Right, because Jesus had thousands and thousands of people following him. He's doing signs, wonders, and miracles. It's hard not to miss that, So they knew what was going on. And so Pilate knew that. So he's like, oh, they're just envious. That's why they brought him here. And then verse 11. But the chief priests moved the people that he should rather release Barabbas unto them. So the chief priests talking to the people, no, we don't want Jesus to be released. We want Barabbas. Give us the murderer, right? And then verse 12. And Pilate answered and said again unto them, what will ye then that I shall do unto him whom ye call the King of the Jews? And they say, oh, what about this guy? You call him the King of the Jews. What do you want me to do with him? Right? And then verse 13. And they cried out again, crucify him. So we got all the people gathered. And right in the same, the chief priests moved the people, so they rallied the people to desire that he releases Barabbas and not Jesus. Right? And they're crying out again in 13, crucify him. And then verse 14. Then Pilate said unto them, why? What evil hath he done? And they cried out the more exceedingly, crucify him. Man. Can you imagine? Whew. And Pilate's asking, why do you want this guy crucified? I mean, what did he do? Right? Meanwhile, he's got Barabbas, he's a murderer. You know? They don't. It's amazing. Okay, so in verse 15. And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivered Jesus when he had scourged him to be crucified. All right, so he gave in to the people, right? Because he's saying, this guy, why would they want this? What evil did this guy do? Why do they want him crucified? But he gave in, he caved in, and he delivered Jesus to be scourged and crucified, and he released Barabbas, the murderer.